Hi, Tom Lundquist again at Bluebird Forge, and today I thought we could do a fun project. We've been doing some basic skills videos lately. Now here's a chance to apply them and to make something that's useful and pretty and makes a good gift. I'm going to start out, I need the tools, so I'm going to have my hammer. I'm going to have a pair of box jaw tongs. If you don't have these, you can make a pair, or you can use a pair of vice grips temporarily. I'll be needing my slot punch, which I demonstrated in the punching video. I have this large round punch, and I'll be using that to enlarge the slot hole. And I'll be using an assortment of different punches and chisels. Here I have a small, just a flat chisel. This is a V chisel. This is a slitting chisel that I'll use after I've got the slot to begin to round it up before I can use the large punch. This is a half round punch that I made by filing this round notch in a piece of round stock and then hardening it. And I have a center punch here. We'll be starting out with a piece of 1/4 by 3/4 flat bar, and I just start out with a length that's long enough that I can put it in the fire and handle it without using tongs for the first part of the job. So here we go, we're going to put it in the fire. I'll start by punching a slot about 3/8 of an inch from the end of the bar and centered from side to side, making sure the punch is still in the mark each time before I strike again. At this point I can feel the anvil through the punch, so I know that it's punched down as far as it can go. So I turned it over and I put the punch back in the same place, and you can see a mark where the punch was because the iron is cooler than on the surrounding area. So now I'm going to punch it down again. And then when the piece is just about punched through, I can put it over the hardy hole and drive the punch through to knock out the slug the rest of the way. And here we have the hole, the slot. After the metal reheats, I'm going to use this chisel, which is tapered both directions and comes up to round, to start to spread the hole until it's open round. To do that, I place it over the hardy hole and just drive the chisel in and all the way through. Once I have the hole opened up enough, I'm going to turn it over and drive this larger punch in. And I'm alternating sides so that I can get the spread even. And we can see that the hole is nice and round and it's quite a bit larger. Now I need to reheat again. You can see that we have these cat ears at the end of where the bar was, so I'm going to place this over the horn of the anvil and forge those down. And now I'm going to just continue moving this around the horn and forging it to get the hole larger and round. And I need to flatten it out from time to time. get this hole to where it's about 1 inch in diameter. I'm going to take one more heat on this. Now that it's hot again, I can continue forging around the rim of this circle. And I'm just going to take some of the sharp off the edges as well. Got a little bit of a fat spot right here. Now, I need to make sure that this is centered, and then I'm going to flatten the top of the circle just a little bit. This should work out quite well. The next step will be to forge a little divot right here to lift the edge of the bottle cap after the next heat. To make the part that actually lifts the bottle cap, I'm going to place the piece on the anvil and put my punch half on and half off the edge of the hole and forge it down to where it's a little thinner. Now you can see this little place that's going to lift the edge of the bottle cap. And if necessary, I can clean that up with a file. Next step is to cut it off at about 3.5 inches so that I can form the handle. And here I have that blank. Now I can start on the motif for the handle. And this one is going to be an eagle. So I'm going to start by placing about 1 inch off the edge of the anvil and strike with a half-face blow. And I'm going to set off enough steel to make the beat. I will continue to forge the end of the beak down to a point. But leaving it as thick as the original metal. So I'm only tapering it on 2 sides. Now I want another notch here to define where the nostrils of the bird are. And here we have the basic profile. After straightening up the line a bit, I'm going to just curve the end of the beak over the end of the edge of the anvil. And now we can start to do some actual details that will make the eagle look like an eagle. I'm going to start with a center punch and just make a nostril here. real flat, so I'm going to flatten it up a little bit more, put it in and get another heat so that I can do some more carving. For the next step, I'm going to use a chisel and separate the upper and lower beak. And it's nothing fancy, it's just a little bit of a line here. And then I'm going to use my angled chisel and start to make some feathers that define where the end of the head is. Just straighten this up a little bit and brush it so that you can see it. Time to reheat. Now I'm going to go into the eye area with this round nose punch and just make an eye socket. And then once the socket is made, I'll go in with a center punch and dot the eye. And then I'm going to use a small chisel and just make a line above the eye. Now I have my half round chisel and I can continue to make more feathers. I'm going to start further back and make the feathers where they kind of overlap, as feathers ought to. And you don't have to be too precise with this, because the human mind will fill in the details. Once again, I'll wire brush this so that you can see what I'm doing. And I'll flatten this out some more. Put it back in the forge one more time. Now I put it over on the back side and I'm just going to touch mark it with this stamp that has my logo on it so that everybody knows who made it. Once again, back to the front side. And I can make a few more round feathers. Now I want to flatten it out one last time and give it a good wire brushing to get rid of all the scale. And then sometimes, just for variety, I like to give it a little bit of an extra touch. And so when it's still warm but not really hot, I'll use a brass brush and just start to brush it lightly as it cools down. And you'll see that a little bit of that brass is actually sticking to the metal. And it brings out the details really well. And I can put a little on the back side too so that my touch mark sticks out. Finally, while it's still a little bit warm, I'm going to get some beeswax and put on that. And while it's still warm, I can just lightly rub it with the beeswax. A little bit of it will burn off, but it will leave just a thin enough coating that it will do a good job of preserving it against rust and help make that brass finish stand out real pretty. Now I'm going to quench it. And here is the finished Eagle bottle opener. Of course, with any project, it's a good idea once you've got done making it to test it and make sure that it works as intended. And as we can see, it does. Thank you for watching. Please share and like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.